My name is Steve Bowles, and I run business development for Ephesoft. Today's our public debut of Semantic, our new cloud AI platform for taking enterprise productivity to new levels. This webinar will provide an overview of the platform we've released and what you can expect from Ephesoft here in the near future. If you aren't familiar with Ephesoft, we're a fast-moving disruptor in the enterprise document capture and data discovery market. Our core focus is the automation of document-centric workflows, the enrichment of flat data with context, with an end result of higher productivity levels for human and digital workers. First, let's talk about the problem. In our 10 years in providing document-centered automation solutions, we noticed something. Time and time again, users had just a piece of the puzzle. And with data missing, they just didn't have the context to get their jobs done effectively. This image is a prime example. Think of how many times per day you app or tab switch to get your job done. We've just accepted the fact that flipping from tab to tab, opening app to app, and copying data from here to there is just the way we do business. I call it the gathering. So go to or use one system, get data set or bit of info A, go to the next system and use that data to find more data, and on across systems. We as humans have this method on how to gather data for context wrapped in our heads as experience, and the application of that experience is really complex. When organizations try and transfer this to bots or systems, it creates a whole new problem and requires constant exception processing. Think of how much time is wasted on these overall gathering efforts. And this problem is not isolated. If you look across the organization, you'll find the contextual data problem is blocking productivity across the organization. It's in accounting with invoices. It's in HR with onboarding, in sales with order processing, in legal with contracts. The broad inefficiency when it comes to processes and context is pervasive in organizations both large and small. So the basis and foundation of our launch today is a new way of thinking about the problem that we really launched at the beginning of the year. The solution is an overarching theme called context-driven productivity, CDP for short. CDP consists of three core pillars that provide a foundation to understand a process or task, all its required data, and then leverage that info today, hold it for the future, and continue to grow and expand its context and usage. Those pillars are here on the screen: acquire, enrich, and amplify. They are also the core technical functions of the Semantic platform. So how do we build context within Semantic? It's just a matter of collecting data? The answer is no. If that was the case, it would be easy. The best way to explain the required underlying technology is to think about a crime board. Everyone's seen a CSI show or one where they're trying to connect the dots to find a murderer or a criminal. That crime board's a simple example of the complex technology behind the scenes and what the CDP methodology can build. Essentially, it's a series of links and relationships between entities and their attributes. In this case, we know where the murder weapon was found, we know the manufacturer, and the DNA associated with it. We can start to gather how it all fits together. The digital crime board is what runs under the hood of the new platform as it watches, collects, and learns. Instead of working to connect the dots to find a criminal, we're learning about enterprise process, gathering context, and understanding every day to help now and in the future. All right, let's cut to the chase and talk about Semantic now that we have a background on context-driven productivity and kind of the core themes in building this new product. So just what is the new product and how can it help you? At Ephesoft, we've mapped out a phased journey to support CDP initiatives worldwide. It will be a journey and focused on those three pillars we discussed: acquire, enrich, and amplify. So just what is this first release of Semantic providing? And how can my organization leverage it for improvements in our overall automation efforts? We've started with a focus on the acquisition pillar and taken our history in document capture and focus for use cases and providing solutions. We've built out a platform and all the components to look at document content in a new way through a brand new machine learning model-based system and extract not only the data of interest, but also start to create a virtual semantic map of that content, of any content that goes through our system. So this digital fingerprint is what we call enrichment ready. So it's semantic data teed up for our next phase, but it also has the ability to be leveraged today for specific acquisition point solutions. It just so happens the first solution is invoice processing. Many of you are probably wondering, if you've been in the industry for a while, does the world really need another invoice app or an app for AP automation? Isn't that market really well covered? Well, AP is one of our most popular use cases, and many of our customers and prospects still struggle with this time-intensive task. Many of our partners have demanded easier to deploy solutions in this area with simplified setup and faster return on investment for their customers. In addition, many cannot take their current legacy capture systems to the cloud, as they just weren't built for that environment. With our experience and the guidance of existing customers and partners on the required functionality, we built Semantic for Invoices as our first point solution in Semantic to deploy. In addition, we're focusing not only on extracting key invoice fields, but also grabbing semantic data throughout the document for future use. If you work in an AP department, you know it's an ever-changing world. New vendors come in, vendors change their invoice formats, companies get acquired, start new divisions, and change addresses all the time. These variables all contribute to a nonstop, really diverse world of data. It's no wonder accounts payable processing times run between 4 and 25 days from a turnaround perspective. If the vendor part of the equation and that constantly changing datascape isn't bad enough, most of the AP solutions on the market come with their own issues. 9 to 12-month implementation times are not unheard of. These projects can be costly and painful for accounting folks in both time and money. Many of the new vendors on the scene include robotic process automation companies that promise AI magic and really fall short when it comes to meeting overall needs. With systems that need to have templates created for vendors, machine learning models retrained or tweaked, high maintenance and upkeep costs really plague these systems. With all these factors combined, these solutions have been unavailable to all size companies that are struggling to keep up with growth without adding headcount to their accounting departments. Everything you see on the screen adds up to average results for most AP projects and an ongoing headache of having to manually process many of the invoices that come through the system. Semantic tackles the problem of AP through an innovative platform with a framework to build focused point solutions to address specific business problems that plague all organizations. It's a native-built AWS application that has been built from the ground up to scale and provide top-tier performance. Over time, Ephesoft and our partners will build and share a library of solutions to address high-value business processes that are difficult to automate. This will add a virtual automation layer that can service the elastic enterprise that's required in today's ever-changing flexible work structure. It's this elasticity that is now the core theme of all Ephesoft products, and Semantic is the latest contributor that enables this whole elastic enterprise notion. The benefits of Semantic: because it's a true SaaS application, you can sign up and be running within hours, not months. Our pre-trained AI is built on tens of thousands of invoices and doesn't require templates to process vendors. Because it's focused on a particular business process, the return on investment is quick and measurable. In this day and age, its cloud architecture supports remote work and employees to give the utmost in flexibility. You're investing not only in AP, but a solutions platform that will enable your organization now and in the future with follow-on platform solutions. Because it's cloud-based, it was built with scalability in mind. And last but not least, remember the context problem we discussed? Legacy capture platforms are static and flat. They take a document, extract the static data, and post it to an end resting place. At the end of the process, that data is purged and not available to the enterprise. In a semantic flow, focused on gleaning context, data takes another path. It's added to a growing knowledge graph, poised to be enriched in future releases, and then leveraged to provide not only value today, but value in the future. Building that digital crime board that will build an extensive map called a knowledge graph. Future initiatives can leverage this contextual data wrapper for advanced solutions like Know Your Customer initiatives, fraud detection, advanced analytics, overcharges, and error detection. Here's a quick view of the Semantik Invoice solution and its primary screens. Simple and easy to use, and our goal is to have a solution that requires little to no training, but provides extensive value for customers and partners. One very important part, and one I'd like to focus on, is that we chose a simple, powerful integration model that provides what we call a webhook. This essentially, if you're not familiar with it, it essentially makes a phone call to modern cloud applications when it has data ready for pickup. The answering application reaches out, grabs the invoice and PDF data, consumes it immediately when it's done. So this modern advanced integration structure provides endless possibilities, and Semantic becomes your document and data gateway into enterprise apps like Slack, integration and workflow platforms like Catalytic, the platform previously known as Flow, Zapier, Workato, and much more. So to give you an example of the ease of integration, when I worked with our development and tech team to prepare for this webinar, we had a half-hour Zoom session, and in a half hour I had Nintex, Slack, and Microsoft Power Automate receiving invoices and data. So think of Semantic as an on-ramp for all these platforms, a really intelligent acquisition engine that takes in documents, processes, extracts, and then passes all that intelligence to any application. So essentially, we do all the heavy lifting and provide that data to make better decisions in your business applications. And I'll show some of this in the demo. So let's go ahead and see it in action. The first thing I'm going to do, one of the ways to consume information is to send email to my tenant. So each individual tenant within our cloud structure gets their own email address. We've got some other ingestion methods that are on the roadmap that'll be out really quick, but including APIs, but this is the first one. So let's do this before I start talking about the application. Let's go ahead and grab some invoices, open them up, and we'll shoot them off to Semantic in an email. So we've already had some inquiries on and some suggestions on additional ingestion methods. If you're interested in that, you can contact us and we can talk a little bit about roadmap and kind of where we're going. And I'm going to get rid of that big attachment because it looks like my internet's getting a little slow. So I shot off the email. Let's go ahead and log into Semantic. You can see I've got a very simple login page. I can actually log into the application. And I've done a few things in this demo. I've got a couple webhook integrations set up, one with Nintex, one with Microsoft Power Automate, and one with Slack, just to show you the diversity of systems that we can integrate with. When I first log into Semantic, I land on the dashboard. The dashboard is very focused on the invoice processing task. You can see that I've got some statistics up top on invoices in the system. We've turned off straight-through processing. That would be your automatically processed. You can see what needs to be manually processed, what's been completed, and on, including the number of new invoices that are in the system. So before I dive in and do some processing, let me show you the simplicity of setup. So out of the box, that model's ready to go. Email me invoices, I'll process, extract the data and present it to you, and I'll show you that in 1 minute. But from a setup perspective, you can log in. As the named user with the first account, you'll be an administrator. You can actually add additional users. So as an AP clerk or an AP manager, I can log in and set up my team really quickly. I can go to import. I can actually get the email address for my particular tenant, and I can build filters as well. I can set up export. So this is where that webhook setup can be created. We've got several other integrations that we're building for our partners. This was the first one that we created. You can see that I've got my Nintex, my Flow, and my Slack. In a few minutes, I set up Zapier as well. Before this webinar, I wanted to play around with it. But if I dive in here and look at the configuration, this is it. So for those of you who have dealt with capture applications before, there's nothing in the market with this simple of an integration, right? So I go to Nintex, I go to Flow, I grab a webhook URL, paste it, tell it the type of data I'm going to send it. That's it. End of story. And the backend system can pick it up and process it from start to finish. And I'll show you some of that here in a minute. Okay. Let's go back. Today, at release, we support 14 fields. We actually went back and researched all the AP projects that we've done over the year to come up with these particular fields that are in the pre-built model. So you can pick and choose what fields you want, select them, and then they'll be extracted within the system. Table extraction is coming within the next month or so. So that will be available as well. We've already got it built. The guys are just putting the plumbing together to present it within the interface. Okay. So let's go back to the dashboard, and I'll show you a typical experience for an accounting clerk. So they log in, they go to all invoices, they see a set of invoices that are new. One thing I'll mention is that there is no notion of batch processing within Semantic. Each invoice is brought in individually. You can actually claim them within this interface. So as a user, I can click on claim invoices. It'll go ahead and process those and bring them into the UI. And you can see here, if I look at my, my invoice set that I've got in the system, it's gone ahead and processed them. Now I can process each invoice individually. You can see I've got the thumbnails on the left, I've got the invoice view in the middle, and then on the right I've got my extracted fields. The red ones are ones that don't exist on this particular invoice. I can tab through them. So if I want to go through and verify, I can do that. You can see I've got a confidence percentage based on the machine learning model's confidence on that particular field. So I can tab through these. You can see that it zooms really quickly and creates this little connector to the value on the page, so I can verify it really quick. When I'm done with this invoice, I click the button and I'm on to the next one. So you can see there's no requirement to finish the entire batch before you release it. You can go invoice by invoice. You can have multiple clerks using the system and processing it from start to finish. Okay. So let's look at what's happening in the background. Go ahead and close this, and you can see I've got Power Apps, Nintex, as well as Slack enabled in the background. I'm getting email notifications that they've detected in their webhook that there's new invoices and data. From a Slack perspective, you want a real simple invoice approval process. We'll go ahead and post it to the webhook. Slack will pull it into the system. You can see the invoice data. You can download the PDF and approve it or deny it right within this interface. Once again, really quick integration right out of the gate. I've got some emails, as I mentioned, coming in. I passed Flow and Power Automate as well as Nintex the data. I can rename the files. I can send emails, and you're pretty much unlimited. Oh, my Zoom bar is getting in my way here. So let's go ahead and click on this. This is a very simple flow. If you want to see what a webhook looks like visually, this is it. This is all you have to configure to integrate with an enterprise integration or workflow platform like Flow. Grab this webhook URL, paste it into Semantic, put in the structure of the object, which they have published, and you're off to the races. So really, really quick and easy to pass data. That email was constructed through this. And then from a Nintex perspective, Nintex is one of our partners. We work the same way with them. So if you actually click into one of these forms, we kicked off a workflow through that web app. It populates a form. You can come in here, approve the invoice, and you're off to the races. Okay. So very simple integration, really powerful tool. I'm going to open it up to questions. So what's the process of training the machine learning piece? Does the system come fully trained? Barack, one of the advantages of being a capture company that's been in business for 10 years is we had a ton of invoices that we could access to use for training. The system comes pre-trained on about 10,000 or so invoices. Anything beyond that, I think we start to get redundant from a learning perspective, but it does come pre-trained, and it's very accurate from an extraction perspective. So David asks, are there multiple doc types? Out of the gate, it's just invoices, David, although we are looking at a follow-on solution that'll do some of the other document types that accompany an invoice set. So are the extraction rules configurable, or are they already defined? It's already pre-built. So out of the gate, you get a pre-built model. The system's up and ready to go and start processing invoices. Jeffrey asks, where is the internal workflow for invoice approval? That is can all be done through a back-end application. We just do the extraction, the validation, and then pass the data off to a system like Flow or Workato or Zapier or one of those other systems. Okay. Let me look. I got more questions coming in. Is this only for US invoices today? English invoices today, Francisco, but rather quickly we're going to do some European countries as well. We've got that in the works. So it will support multiple languages. Is it quicker to, let's see, do corrections I make during the validation process update the ML model? That's coming, Craig, coming very soon. The entire platform was developed on an agile methodology, so our folks are really quick at putting features in a continuous deployment model or continuous delivery model from an update perspective. So there's a lot of stuff on the relatively short-term product roadmap that'll be coming out. And we can set up a follow-on session for roadmap if anyone's interested. Let's see. What is the confidence level for handwritten data? Harsha, we haven't built any models for that yet. Right now, we've got machine-generated models. Let's see. Is this an engine app different from Transact? This is from Jesus. It is completely and totally different from Transact. This is an AWS native application that was built from the ground up. We've used some some components in it, but for the most part, we built this from scratch with our dev team. Let's see, quality of the OCR engine. Rob, I've been in the capture industry for a long time. This application is very, very accurate. In fact, if anyone on the call wants, they can actually inquire via our website, and we can get you a trial up and running, an instance where you can send your own invoices, and the proof's in the pudding. You can play around with it. Valerie says, does this integrate well with Infor? Valerie, essentially, we built this with direct guidance from Infor as our partner. They were very interested in a multi-tenant invoice application. We've been having meetings with their product teams for over a year and a half, and they've had some direct input on this. And within the near future, we'll be rolling this out for their different ERP platforms. Pricing cost model. Semantic starts at $3 grand a year, around 3,500 list, and goes up to much higher than that for high volumes, and it's a volume-based model. So I think it comes in 6,000 invoices a year up to multi-millions. Let's see, is this available in Azure or Google Cloud? It is not. It is a AWS native application that was built in that environment, and for the foreseeable future, that's where it stays. Let's see, do you think this will replace Transact? This is not a replacement for Transact. Part of our product strategy is to keep both products going down the line. We will augment, or at least the plan is to augment Transact technology with this brand new machine learning within Semantic. So Transact will get better as we make advances, and both products will complement each other. Let's see, can additional custom fields be added? They can't be in the current release, but that's coming out very soon within a future release. Let's see, can it connect to internal proprietary apps? You can do that, Aiden, through one of those third-party apps like Flow or Zapier or MuleSoft. You can link it into your internal applications. Let's see, recommended approach to connect with an RPA product such as UiPath from Rob. Rob, we'd probably have to use Orchestrator. We should have a demo coming out on the integration with UiPath here soon, but you'd have to use something that would support a webhook through a cloud-based system like Orchestrator. Let's see. Assuming you're starting from scratch and want to create a process to grab data from invoices, is it quicker to do it in Transact or Semantic? Transact has its own starter package for invoices, but totally different technologies. You need services to get that up and running and tuned, very customized. So if you look at Transact and Semantic and the difference between the two products, Ephesoft is for that customized, on-premise, very detailed deployment for an accounts payable. Semantic, you can get up and running right out of the gate. You've got that pre-built model that'll get you ripping with, and you can tie it into your system with those webhooks on the back end. Let's see, how much time do I have? We're at time, but let's see. So Ray says, is pricing by invoice or versus or pages? It's based on pages, Ray. And what is the page count size limit for an invoice? Yeah, it's not based on invoice, it's based on pages. Let's see. And you know, we're at time. That's about all the time I have for today's event. If you have questions, we'll go through the questions within the system and answer them directly. If you can't wait, go ahead and go to ephesoft.com, drop us a note, and we'll contact you. And if you want a trial, like I said, please put that in your inquiry, and we'll get back to you and get you up and running. Okay? Thanks, everybody, for attending, and look forward to meeting you and hopefully working with you on Semantic. Take care.